Hi sewing friends! Oh my gosh, it's been a while. I have been busy and hopefully you guys have been busy too. All productive, let's get into it. So, I want to talk to you guys today about underconsumption core. So you guys might have seen like this trend going around on social media that is basically glorifying what we already own and underconsumption rather than overconsumption. Now, I first stumbled across underconsumption core on social media, so you'll probably see it more so there than anywhere else. But basically, it started off as like a little trend showing all the things that you are basically using until they fall apart. So for example, I've seen a bunch of people showing like, I got this tumbler, as in like a drinks cup. Example, I'll just grab mine. Example A. So like showing the stuff that they already have and saying like, this still works. I don't need to run out and get a Stanley. So sticking with the things that you already have rather than adopting into a trend. Basically put, long story short. Speaking of, like I've had this one for about 2 years now, and I have seen a bunch of other ones in Kmart that are like new and like in better physical condition than this one, but I don't need another one. Do I want another one? Not really, but do I need another one? Absolutely not. This does the job. Like, we have been told so often in social media, in society, in culture, whatever you subscribe to. Speaking of, you know what to do. To like run, this is the thing, run, don't walk to Target to get this thing. Buy now, pay later makes it so much easier. So I think we've been told for so long of the new normal level of consumption. And I think finally a lot of us are going, yeah, nah, I'm not about that, eh? Like, I don't want to buy into that, because now we're starting to realize the longevity of something needs to be more than what we're being told to buy it. For example, linking this back to sewing, for about 2 or 3 years after I graduated my fashion degree, I was sewing a whole bunch of stuff in my wardrobe. And then it got to the point where I didn't need to sew any more clothes for myself. I had actually like filled up my wardrobe with exactly what I wanted. I don't need any more, but I love sewing. And that's when I started to teach others how to sew. And I started doing like contract seamstressing on the side, because I love sewing, but I don't need to keep on sewing my own things. And the great thing about sewing your own clothes is that you know exactly the time and the effort that goes into something. So when I sew something, I'm expecting it to last minimum 10 years, a decade. If this thing does not last a decade, I need to make sure I take care of it better. That's my personal kind of standpoint. A lot of stuff, for example, I have like so many of these turtlenecks. I wear them all the time during winter. I have about 4 or 5 that I made 5 years ago, and they are starting to show signs of wear and tear. So how I'm fixing that is like, you know, readjusting like I've seen a lot of, a few little holes start to appear in the stitch line, and I just get my overlocker and I go back over them, you know, and knowing how to do that saves the garment so that they'll last for another 5 years. And sorry, my chair keeps on squeaking. It's not me, it's the chair, always the chair. So yeah, having the ability to sew my own clothes means that I don't have to keep on sewing my own clothes, because I know the things that I sew will last me forever. For example, my gosh, I'm so sorry. I should have planned this video out better more, but I need to show you guys this coat because you guys have been asking about it for a while, and I will make its own little video, but wait there. This coat. So this coat, right? I will never will I ever throw away this lining, right? And let me tell you about it. Long story short, I bought this coat back in 2018, right? Loved it, got it on sale, might I add. And so I saw it in store start of 2018 and I was like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful coat. But it was like $580. And I was like, yeah, nah. And it's a polyester wool blend and it was unlined because obviously I lined it. That gets in later in the story. But I saw this coat and I was like, oh my God, I love that coat, but it's so expensive, I'm not gonna buy it. I saw it about 6 months later on sale, 50% off, and I was like, yeah, buying it, love it. And I wore it so much. And I have worn it so much, you know, like it definitely gets used, right? But during the 2020 lockdowns, I had bought this. This was my first ever Liberty fabric, by the way. And how beautiful is it? You don't even need to tell me because I love it so much. Anyway, I lined it in 2020 and I will never throw away this fabric. I will redesign another coat around it because this outer is starting to get a bit of wear and tear. Not too sure how many years left it has in it, but definitely would save the lining and then reconstruct the outer side. Just to show that a coat can literally last you a lifetime, because I will never throw away this coat lining and I will always redesign the coat around this lining just to have this lining. So basically, underconsumption core is about using what you already have to make, to not go out and consume more. And I think what's really great about this is that it is glorifying what you already own. Because as soon as you do that, instead of glorifying overconsumption, you change the narrative that you tell yourself, that you tell others that you interact with, and also that we tell each other as like a community and a society. Because I bet you there are so many members of the sewing community that already just do this by default, and it's not a thing that we do. It's just a part of our practice. For example, I remember during COVID, like trash walks or trash runs became a thing where you go for a run or a walk and you pick up trash as you're doing your activity. And I was like, isn't that just picking up rubbish? Like, that is something that I've always done and always will do. And it's great that it's on social media and that it's being glorified because more people will do it then. So I think this is an amazing opportunity for underconsumption to become a normalized thing, the same way that other things have become so normalized now. So it's definitely a change in the way that we view items, especially clothing, because fast fashion is now the third biggest polluting industry in the world. And 50% of all garments produced in the fast fashion industry are made from synthetic fibers, which is a byproduct of the first biggest polluting industry, which is oil and gas. So it's all in a closed cycle that it only takes breakaways like underconsumption core to start to decrease the momentum that this massive industry is churning. So, loving underconsumption core. And also what I love about it is that how it doesn't just apply to sewing, but it applies to other parts of my life. For example, I went shopping the other day to get some makeup and stuff. And then it inspired me to clean out my bathroom. And when I tell you how much packaging I was holding on to for aesthetical reasons, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't need this. I really don't. I don't need the appearance in my bathroom of the products that I use, empty products in the packaging displayed. And I think that's a really big identity shift for me, going from consuming fast fashion 10 years ago to now going, actually, no, I want to glorify not having a lot. And the thing that I always think is, if I was to move house, apartment, whatever tomorrow, would I take this thing with me? And if the answer is yes, I would, all good, you keep it with you. But if the answer is no, then you've got to let it go in some way. Either use it up or remove it from your house in donating it or selling it or doing something with it so that you don't have so much stuff around you all the time, and then that becomes your new normal, and then you start to think about the things that are coming into your house. Anyway, so I want to talk to you guys about how I've used underconsumption core in my sewing practice this week alone. So I have been really inspired by a whole bunch of tiles, Spanish tiles. It's a weird thing to get inspired by, but I do love it. So I got really inspired by Spanish tiles. And I was just thinking about all these different designs in my head, and I was like, oh, I really want to just make something. I want to see this in my apartment daily. I feel like it's a part of my creative practice that I can do with sewing. So for example, I came home and I just started sketching out a really basic design. And then I was like, oh, I can go to the fabric store and get some fabric to do this. And then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, Annie, why do you need to go to a fabric store? You have 5 massive probably 8 massive containers of fabric in your apartment right now. You do not need to go out and buy more fabric. You have it. So what I did was I did a little rummage through my fabric stash, and I found 2 really beautiful pieces of linen that I love to use for this thing. So I pulled them out. I got a cream colored one and a chartreuse colored one. Now the thing is, the chartreuse colored one had a massive splotch of paint on it that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to work around this. Like, you know, it'll be so much more easier if I could just go out and buy a piece that's already like unpainted. But then I was like, oh, it's actually quite sweet because I actually do paintings as well. Like I did that one. I paint as well. So I was like, no, I actually kind of like that it's got a bit of paint on it. You know, it's not ideal, but it's also not the worst. And I didn't include it in the actual final product, but that is something that would have previously stopped me using this piece of fabric, that I'm just like, you know what? It's okay. I don't need to completely replace this piece of fabric for the sake of this one little paint splotch. Anyway, so I cut, sew, snip, 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 and I got it here. So this is, okay, so it's gonna be a pillowcase, cushion thing for my couch, and I'm really happy with it. So this is it. Like, how beautiful is that? And I just freehand, like, I just made up these pieces and made it into a piece of fabric. So it's like using a bit of quilting skills as well, because these are all just like curves. I really like that orientation I like. So you might be able to see, no you cannot, but on this side you may be able to see that blue paint there. Right there is the paint I was talking about. And also you'll notice, well, you might not even have noticed, but this piece up here is the only one without cream on it. So if you look at it here, how all of these other pieces have a curve in them, this is the only one that doesn't, because I ran out of fabric. And I was not going to run to the fabric store just to get like a piece of 10 by 10 fabric just for this piece. So, and that's the piece with the paint on it. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I love the curves and the shapes. And I love that I already had the fabric. Oh my God, look at amazing thumbnail. Like, I absolutely love that. So then I did go to Kmart to get a cushion piece, because I actually don't have an extra cushion piece. Thinking of that, I probably should have gone to a charity shop and gotten one, but it was a Sunday, so my charity shops aren't open at the time I needed it on a Sunday. So next time, know better, do better. So yeah, I've been working on that. And then I also am going to make this into a sewing pattern for you guys. So this was the point I was getting to. Underconsumption can be done in a bunch of different ways, and whatever works best for you works best for you. I believe that sewing is a life skill that everyone should have access to. That's why I put so much free information on my Instagram and my social media and my YouTube. You know, I love making these videos for you guys. And one thing I would really like to do, but I don't know how to do it, but I know it will come to fruition at some point, is I want to do like a group Zoom call where we talk all about like these kinds of things. Because what I really love is that I can talk about these kinds of things, but I also like it when people talk back to me. Because, you know, it's just me here in my living room talking. But I would really like to see and hear how you guys, you know, practice underconsumption core, or as you might call it, minimalist living. Because we did have that whole thing back in 2020, minimalism and Marie Kondo and like bring joy. Like, does it bring joy? Yes or no? If it's no, like say goodbye to it and thank it and, you know, move it out of the way. But I think now it's not so much about minimalism. It's about going, yeah, it might not look aesthetic, but it works. If it looks stupid, but it works, it ain't stupid. That is one thing I've learned. So yeah, like glorifying what we already own, I think is one of the best things ever, because yes, you can show me something you recently bought in the weekend and that's great, but show me the thing you've had for 10 years and it still works. You know, we always say that like fridges and dishwashers and washing machines that were made in the 70s and 80s, they're still going. But things that are made today, broken within 2 years. I am so much more impressed by a workhorse than a racehorse. Like, I love hearing about the things that have just kept on going. I love hearing about the things that have served generations. Because sewing, our sewing stuff is like an heirloom. You know, my sewing scissors, LDH, by far the most superior, amazing sewing scissors I've ever had. I would never throw those away. I would never throw sewing scissors away, fabric scissors, no. But the LDH scissors, chef's kiss, beautiful. And they are something I will pass down generation to generation. And I will make sure that whoever inherits them knows that they are fabric scissors and fabric scissors only. You know? So imagine if you could have inherited things from your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. You know, at some point, everything around us will go to someone else. And it's kind of like our custodian duty to make sure that we maintain and care for it for as long as possible. I just think of Downton Abbey when I think of that kind of like mindset of like, you know, we are merely the tenants of Downton Abbey, not the owners. You know, times may change, but standards shall not. So the way I use underconsumption core is one, making things to last and, you know, using good quality materials and equipment to make something so that it does last. Making things that I love to make so that I have like an emotional connection to them so that I won't throw them out. And then also, you know, using what I have. I'm just gonna check the time quickly. Yeah, we're good. Using what I have is also so important. So those are the main key things. I hope you've loved this video as much as I've enjoyed making it, and make sure to like and subscribe, ideally. So yeah, I'm sure I'll keep you guys updated with a whole bunch of other things. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.